All right, and we're live. Welcome to the Google Ads Power Hour. I am your host, John, and I also have the other host, Caden. Say hi.
Hello, hello.
Today is going to be a fun one. Dave's here. Man, Dave, I get to set my watch to you, Dave. Like, it's great. You're always here. You're always, always attentive, and I appreciate that. I have one super fan or maybe stalker. It depends on if you stay outside my house, Dave. All right, today we're going to be doing CMO level math. I had a few people commenting on LinkedIn about how to identify, what's my CAC targets, what should MER be, how do I identify my profit margin, all the good stuff. So I'm actually going to be using a live example. And I'm also going to be showing off a bit because I'm going to show some year-over-year data from when I started, which was April of 2022 with this client. And we're going to look at first quarter over first quarter. Dave says, what? Yeah, Dave, I'm going to heckle you back because I have the mic and you're only chatting. So ha ha ha. So I get to have the power here. But CMO level math. So the CMO level math is what it's called. The reason is because a lot of people that are measuring the ROAS in Google Ads is measuring something different than the business owner or than the company. We have some publicly traded companies that we market for. And what actually really generated a higher level of thinking for me was the learning capabilities that I took from working with CMOs of publicly traded companies. When you identify the way that those people operate, you see how much different than it is than what we all hear in Google Ads experts or Google Ads managers or specialists, whatever you want to call yourself. We all think much differently than the CMOs at these publicly traded companies. Now, that's what you should aspire to do. When I post on LinkedIn, I'll look at backend data, or I'll look at what the impact is of a specific client. What is it doing to their company? What is it doing to their wallet, their bank account? The only thing that matters to them. They don't care what the click-through rate is. Some do, obviously, because it helps them influence the decision. But at the end of the day, a person that is a very high up level in a company is going to be responsible for the revenue that's coming in. They don't really care. It's like, but I had a 700 ROAS. Doesn't matter. We lost money. So in thinking about how you should be measuring, Simon says, one of the companies I'm working at hired a COO. She has no idea about econ. Yeah. There's a lot of those out there. And that's actually where we've grown the most, is as sad as it is teaching those C levels and teaching those higher ups at these companies. Here's how we should be measuring and thinking. The people below a high level of expertise get raised up and they have a good understanding. And the people that are already at the top say, thank God you actually think like us. There's no bad way there's no way this goes bad. We actually have a really cool way of measuring everything. And then what you end up doing is working closely with the leaders of that company to help facilitate conversations with other channels. I comment on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, email streaming, doesn't matter. I manage the Google Ads, but we have conversations about what those other channels are doing. So I'm sort of elevated to that position. To give you a small example, a very large client of ours purchased another company, and that other company had a 650% ROAS. Now, that 650% ROAS was good, but I told the gentleman at this company who was a CMO of a publicly traded company, I said, it sounds like a lot of brand. He goes, that's exactly right. I said, what's the new and returning splits? He goes, 92-8. Now, out here in Google, and we're like, I understand that, but man, that's not what I look at. 92-8 means 92 existing customers for every 100 purchases. So only 8 are new. No wonder why you have a 600% ROAS. They're spending, 130 grand a month. So what's funny is the company had a choice to make. They said, well, we have now 2 companies that are very similar and 2 Google Ads agencies. I'm right now getting a 3.5 ROAS blended in Google, new and returning, but I'm at a 75-25, 75 new customers, 25 returning split. So they have a 700% ROAS. I have a 350% ROAS. We had a conversation today, and they're going to be letting that other company go, the other Google Ads company go, and hiring us instead. So what's kind of interesting about this is we had half the ROAS that they did, and we ended up getting the sale. So, or at least not getting let go. And that's because this is a very, very, very intelligent CMO. And that's what I'm trying to teach here today. So, Caden, any additional comments to just kind of the topic that we'll be discussing?
No, all good over here. So far, everything sounds exactly as, I expected from you.
What's funny is we're also on a lot of these companies together. So this is, nothing that's not new to us. So I'm going to teach you some tools that we use. Yes, Northbeam. I know you're all sick of it, but that's one of them. But I think some other ones that you don't have to use Northbeam for. Northbeam is going to be very, helpful in seeing the whole landscape, but it's not the only tool that you'll need to use. So first one that I'm going to share with you here is an app called Buy the Numbers. BY the numbers, not buy like purchase, but BY, buy the numbers. Thanks, John. You got my company fired. Just kidding. It's awesome. And here's what's cool is this last this quarter of 2023, so January through March 31st, compared to last quarter, 2022, I did my standard shopping and PMax feed only splits, the strategy that I've taught you all here. And I want to share with you the back end data because the same manager at the same company for Facebook is still there and she's still doing everything that she needs to do. This is going to be live here on the screen unblurred when this goes live on YouTube as a video for ads and make myself famous and everything that I try to do. It'll be blurred out, but if you're seeing here live, you're in a good spot. So here's year to date, January 1st through April 21st, compared to January 1st, April 21st of last year. Now, yes, sales are going up. Good. We see more sales, 80% more. All right, average order value stayed about the same. These are something that you're going to be wanting to check out. This is important. We look at the first-time customers. Now there's 220,000 first-time customers. It's up 87% year over year, quarter over quarter. And then the return rate, though, is up 28%. They're returning more often. This is what I try to teach everyone, that get new customers when they return. Now, in the first 4 months of this year compared to last year, now they make 99.7 million first time, and then they make 3.4 million returning. We're not trying to get returning. They just happen. So it's, hey, this quarter, you're making $1 million a month now from your existing customers. Good job. We're spending about 5 million to make 9.7 million. Okay, that kind of stinks, but then you add another 3.4 in there, and okay, now this starts to make sense. You're going to actually a 3x return, close to it, 2.75. So that's the landscape. That's also me bragging. But I want to share with you that this is what people look at. This is what the owner looks at and says, wow, the strategy that we're using year over year, it's the same cycle. There's not like a before and after. This isn't me showing Christmas time versus non-Christmas time. This is just first quarter-ish, first 4 months, year over year. That is a big win. I'll share with you how we got there. First thing that you're going to want to do is pull out multiple calculators. Hopefully, if you have some on your desk, you have some on your phone, you have some on your computer, just pull out some multiple calculators because this is what we're going to try to achieve. LinkedIn just says, damn, I went on LinkedIn unnecessarily. Now you have to watch to the end because for sure there'll be something valuable. I don't even know the name. It just says LinkedIn user. So welcome, LinkedIn user. You have your little default avatar of LinkedIn, but hopefully you just subscribe and keep watching. But yeah, it's gonna be fun stuff. We give away a whole lot of content free and hopefully people pay us. First calculator that we're going to do is take your average order value. And now this is year over year. You see, it doesn't change. This is good. We do not want this to fluctuate a lot. This is what we're trying to set our watch to at scale. So $40.72 in the last 4 months and 21 days, year to date. So take 40.72, multiply that by your purchase frequency of 1.2. Purchase frequency, what this is how many times has the average person purchased more than once, or the number of purchases on average so far this year. My last call, you said that 3 of your biggest customers couldn't scale without Google and Facebook working together to learn our customer path and scale. Should we get Northbeam to see it? Yes, so we'll cover that topic too, Maya. So I think you and I have a call soon too, which is gonna be really fun. We'll go through that as well. But this is important because Maya, what you just mentioned is you can't scale Facebook unless you scale Facebook and Google together. It's true. This is how you set your targets globally across all channels. So we have $40.72. That's your average order value. Multiply that by 1.2. And what that'll give us, 48.86. This is the 4-month LTV of all purchases, regardless of channel. I don't care if you came off of a TikTok, off of Google, off of YouTube, off of Facebook, off of Instagram. Doesn't matter. Everyone spends about the same and everyone purchases about the same. You can get into hyper detailed about the CAC and LTV of and the AOVs of a specific product. But when this client has 2,000 SKUs, we're not doing that. That's just going to have to be redone every week. It's not going to make sense. So 48.86 is our average lifetime value of a 4-month time period off of each one of our customers. We see that this has not changed year over year. So it stays the same. Good. We can set our watch to it. Now, here's what we're going to have to look at now that's our target. That's our lifetime value so far. If I spend X, I'll make $48 off of everyone in 4 months. Now, if you wanted to, let's say, cut that in half, let's say this is your CAC target. You have a 50%, if you have a 50% profit margin, you divide that by 2, and now you can't go over $24 before you start losing money. So that's what that means. If I spend $24, it's going to double. And in 4 months, I've made my money back and I've earned a customer. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to look at, though, is what was last year. So we look at the complete last year. It's important because now you're going to identify the value in the first. I'm going to move it over here. Value in the first 4 months versus the value annually. Now you see how this one is 41.09 times 1.26. It's 51. So it gets a little bit more value over a year. But the 48 to 51, $3 difference. This is called now a CAC payback. CAC payback is an actual term that the CMOs use to say, okay, if I was going to spend this money, if I cost per acquire this, how long is it going to take to get paid back? And we can see that in 4 months, that's about your payback schedule. You're going to make 80% of that money in day 1 or month 1. You're going to get paid back pretty much made whole within the first 4 months. So that's something that you're going to look at all channels. Dave says, I think Caden's lost. That's fun. So your CAC payback is now if I spend that money in the first 4 months, I make that money back. Good. I made whole. I might have spent $24 on a $35 sale, but then they grew to a $48 average. Okay, now I'm paid back the first 3 months. The reasons why is because you can set your global targets to it, and then I compare how your individual channel targets are doing. And that's what you would need NorthBeam for. A blend of mix of everything. You can kind of track the trends. We'll go through that though. Okay, $50. That's it. That's about what we're going to be talking about. $50 in the first 3 months to a year. We know that we're going to get paid back usually within the 4 months, about $50. So if we have a $25 cost per acquisition, let me just going to grab NorthBeam over here while this loads so I can keep talking. If we have a $25 cost per acquisition, we should start to make money at a large scale, because what I'm going to do year over year or even month over month is I'm going to start to have repeat purchases off these people. Now, that may not happen every single month or may not happen every 2 months. But when I say at scale, I'm talking about where that CMO is thinking about, okay, if I was to take that $25, buy a $50 sale, or $45 sale, it's going to turn into a $50 a $50 purchase. I can push that now. That's the target. So let's see this in action. Let's go into our NorthBeam of the same customer. And right now you can see our global CAC is $24.86. Okay. Now, what does this $24.86 give us? It gives us a 2.8 MER. Well, wait a minute. That should be a 2 MER. You said the average order value is only $40. Yes, that's true. This is off of what they call a cash basis. You're going to have higher AOVs on specific orders on cash. We have to look at down here called the accrual. You'll see that when I spend $30, though, I'm only making a 1.73. An accrual means only in the last 7 days, the money you spent in the last 7 days got you a $30 CAC. So we're above goal. we're below goal. We're actually above the number we want to be at, but we're below the goal that we need to be at. And you can see here that it's a 1.73 ROAS. Okay, so now we have two different numbers, a cash basis and an accrual basis. On accrual is indicative to what's to come to cash. What does that mean? It means if I spend 7 days and I'm looking at only the data that has been bought in the last 7 days, I spent $30 to probably make about a let's see what the average $43 sale. Okay, so see how this average order value has been pulled in from by the numbers, pulled in from Northbeam, and it actually came from Shopify's back end. Everything's aligning. We have targets now. Okay, I can't pay $30 for a $43 sale. That means that if I have a 50% profit margin, I'm losing money. Yes, you are. You are. Now, on a long enough timeline, when you're doing this each month, you're going to see those return customers come back and purchase again. And if you're not paying for them again, you'll have something that looks like this. What this means here is that on a cash basis, all the money that I'm spending that is compounding over time is bringing those customers back. And this is actually what happened in the last 7 days. See 305,540, 305,540. It's the same spend, just measured differently. This here is an infinite look back window, 700, well, not infinite, should be, but 720 days, far back as I can possibly go. But now it's a look back window of 720 days. That 720 days is saying, okay, I spent, 300 grand a week every week for now a year. Cool. What is actually happening from that compounding? Well, someone 2 months ago, saw you a few times and clicked on something, didn't buy, they bought today. Someone from 6 months ago bought again. Someone from 2 years ago bought again. Someone from 3 weeks ago decided to buy a first time. That's why media efficiency ratio is key. You're looking at what is the actual cash in, cash out. You're spending this every week. That's your target. If I get a 1.73, it turns into a 2.8. I gain 100% MER just because of all those users coming back that I'm not paying for. If I was paying for them consistently, you would never get out of this bubble here. You'd have a really cool ROAS, Google ads. Yeah, I spent 54 to make, 77. Cool. On the same people again and again and again. So when they try to come back, you pay for them again, and you never actually take that 54 and turn it into 135, which is what should be happening. As long as I'm not paying for these people again, my spend stays the same, but the return users starts to bring a bunch of people back. So now that we've kind of understand when you're spending each week, accrual basis is only 7-day look back window. That's what's going on. And then the top cash is just compounding. You measure them differently. Now let me share with you another tool to verify all this stuff. You're like, John, that looks good, but holy crap, spend 300 grand to make 850, only 2.8x return. You suck. That's, yeah, if I had like a 30% profit margin, I'm hemorrhaging cash right now. I don't. Scale that 800% ROAS to the moon. That's right, Michael. Woo! I have a cool campaign. It's called the B-Rand. Don't worry. It's nothing like you've ever seen before, but this B-Rand campaign, we're going to scale that. I actually saw one horrible Google Ads agency call it TM, and I'm like, you jerks. That means trademark. That's brand. Stop trying to confuse and hide. So yeah, it's fun stuff. All right. So now that we've had that, we're getting a 2.8 and a $24 CAC. Okay. So we have now $24 cost per acquired customer. We have 20,000 transactions this week. What's going on? Let me introduce you to another tool called Lifetimely. You can technically kind of replace Northbeam with this a bit. Don't use it for real expensive decisions like, oh God, Facebook's tanked, so it's now time to raise this up. Or, oh God, my brand tanked. That's actually could have been Facebook. So you're not going to draw those correlations very well. But what you're going to see is, if this is the case, how is it affecting actually my monthly numbers? That's what you can use Lifetimely for. You import your COGS. It even has how much Shopify costs you each month as a COG. This is now going to deliver you your net profits based on your CAC targets that you used in Lifetimely in the by the numbers that you verified in your media mix in Northbeam, and now it's coming out in the back end, where now in this last month, the 20th to the 20th, for example, it just defaulted there. So that's cool. Use that. It's a $571,000 net profit. Okay. So now we're verifying this stuff. I have a 2.8 MER on the cash basis. Everyone coming back and just purchasing that's been with us for 1 day and 10 years. We're just seeing how that grows. And then a 1-day target of 1.73. So based on your specific profit margins and your return rate, you're going to see how this is going to be a 1.73. That actually is, if I'm looking in Google Ads, I'm getting a 1.43. Wow, that looks horrible. The client's like, hey, thanks for the $500,000 that just landed in my bank account. ROAS doesn't matter. It's client specific. So it's like, John, what ROAS should I get? It's like, holy crap, I don't know. Pick one. So it's hard to do that. But now you can see that the 3.7 million in sales and a 1.5 million in marketing cost, and then the 1.3 COGS, which is going to develop your profit margin, comes out here. Now, Lifetimely can also help you with this. It can have your taxes, your COGS, your marketing, your operating expenses, and then it actually gives you KPIs that we're going to go through here in a moment, because that also now aligns with that little $12 app. Remember the $12 buy the numbers app? I've been able to put all this together after that. What you're seeing here is just verifications. Okay. So you're looking at Lifetimely. Now we got product revenue, shipping revenue, discount codes, refunds, taxes, products sold, the transaction fees, the fulfillment expenses, Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, operating expenses. This operating expenses, I think this one here is actually what they get charged by Shopify each month, which is crazy. That's why it's static. And so now you come out with these net profits here per day. But then check this out. You got this area called acquisitions here. And see my blended CAC. See how it was about 25 bucks, like we saw back in the buy the numbers app that you can buy for 12 bucks. Okay. This is not suggesting, this is what I'm actually getting. So if I keep a blended CAC of $25 and I see a blended ROAS, also MER. The difference between blended ROAS and MER is blended ROAS is usually the blended return on ad spend. So only paid out, only paid in. MER is paid out and all in. So just a differential there. So now my blended ROAS, I need to be about between a 2.1 and a 2.5. So, you could take, Michael, you're at 800% ROAS, see how that doesn't matter anymore. So as long as we're getting over a 2.2, 2.3, and as long as we're not paying more than a $25 cost per acquisition, we're going to make a $500,000 in net profit. So this is how we're backing this out. Go all the way back to the buy the numbers app. If you wanted to start here, great. This is where you should start. You can use Lifetimely to actually identify your blended CAC, and you don't need Northbeam. I spent 5 figures of my own money investing in Northbeam, and I'm here to say you don't need it if you have these 2 other tools. I would get it, because then it's like, okay, how is it? It's not working. Now what do I do? Okay, then you got to get there. But when you're looking at here is taking the last 4 months, 41.09, multiplying that by 1.26 frequency, getting $50. I know that if I have my profit margin, they don't have a 50% profit margin. They will have like an 80% profit margin. So that's why I'm just using that example. But divide that by 2, you get an 80% profit margin, only get a 50% return. Cool. Now you got a 25% buffer there. So now I got a $25 CAC target. When I hit my CAC targets across all channels, where'd Northbeam go? Did I close Northbeam?
Far right, I think.
Oh, I'm just blind. Thank you, sir.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So there's I should get about 25, right? Okay. Well, what happens when I get 25? All right. That gives me a 2.8 media efficiency ratio. Got it. Now, what does that have to actually do to my wallet? It makes it big. Good. So that's how you're backing out from just your AOV and your return rate. Again, this return rate's 1.26. It's not 48. It's not 10. It's a return rate of 1.26 annually. Out of 100 customers that buy, 20% come back. Good. And I guarantee you, if most of you hop into a Shopify account, you're going to see a return customer rate of around 20 to 30%. That's very, very normal. If you take this and throw it in a really crazy scenario where you have amazing LTVs, to give you an example, this is something that gets even wilder. This is a company here that has crazy LTVs where I spend $758,000 a week and then 10x my media efficiency ratio for 6.42 million a week. So how do you take 600 grand a week and turn it into 6 million a week? I don't. I take 600 grand, 400,000 of that in Google. And I'm spending $114 cost per acquired new customer to make a $99 AOV. I'm losing. I spend more money to acquire that customer than what that customer pays me. I have a 0.8 ROAS on new customers, 0.7 ROAS. I'll show you. I have a 3x return in Northbeam because that's the new and the returning. But when you're looking at how we actually are measuring this on a cash basis, as long as my cost per acquired new customer is under 140, and as long as my first customer MER or first customer ROAS is actually above a 0.8, I will 10x every week with $6 million in cash. So if I hear someone in the future say ROAS, I'm just going to send them this video. So you're helping me, by the way. But I'll share with you how this works. When you look at all of these channels together, and then you look at your first time versus returning, I spent 400,000 to make 315, a 0.8 return this week. I have $111 cost per acquired first time customer, and I have 3,500 new customers. It's awesome. But what you notice is I made $1 million returning. Again, this is crazy talk. This is when you have an extreme case. Don't set your numbers to this, please, for love of God. Don't be like, oh, John said, oh, I need to get 0.79 ROAS. Don't do that. Understand what is going on here is that I woke up today and this week I didn't even have to turn on Google and I made $1 million. Okay, that's because all these people were returning. But I did spend 400,000 to make 315 and a 0.79 ROAS on first time customers. Now, what happens when you compare the last 7 days to last 7 days last year? Now things get a little bit interesting. April 14th to the 20th here, for example. This is a lot of data that's pulling in from a year ago, so this might take about 30 seconds. So I wish I had hold music. Any elevator music, Caden?
I was going to make up another point as well, too, with new customer acquisition is like, I sort of like to balance sort of the two, like MER new customer acquisition as sort of like a time frame of, okay, MER is really good. We can sacrifice some MER to bring in more new customers and lean more into the strategy that's actually working for, future investments.
Yep.
So those are kind of a good, I guess, two metrics to look at in comparison.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's always going to be unique. I mean, I can't apply this twice, honestly. It is all unique. But now when we're looking at like the last year over year performance of this last week, I was able to spend 14% less. I actually have 11% more first time customers. My MER is up 30%. My CAC has dropped 34%. My transactions first time are up 30%. So 30% more first time transactions for 14% less spend. And I still make only 17% difference, still $1 million. It's about the same. It's not too much different. It's like, oh, it's $100,000 difference, but when you're talking about $1 million, who cares? But my returning transactions are up. It's like more I buy new, the more they repeat. And that's how you 10x with a really crappy ROAS or MER, whatever you want to call it. Now, here's what's interesting. You'll see something here on the screen, though, which is what I've been teaching you all lately, is you see how last year I actually spent 56% less on Performance Max, and I spent 213% more on shopping. This is standard shopping. These two are running together. This was what happened last week. You can see year over year, though, my thought process flipped. This is why I really don't shoot a lot of like training videos, because it's like, hey, remember everything I taught you last year? We'll throw that out, no refunds. Here's what we're doing now. So it's always changing. But that flip there of running them side by side now means I spend a whole lot less, but because standard shopping is driving PMax into new customers, I got 30% more new customers. Now, every CEO or CMO, every C-level in the world is going to say, hey, great, thanks for saving me money and then getting me more new customers by 30% more and then charging me 30% less on them. Now this returning is just even more profitable and will grow even bigger next year. So to kind of summarize, oh, wait, didn't you do just 100 hours of training videos? Yeah, that was for someone else. That's going to be a huge course that's coming out. Really fun stuff. But yeah, that's actually going to be on a monthly subscription where it's continually updated weekly, Dave. So pretty cool stuff. I can't just like shoot it, set and forget it. It's a lie. I hate the gurus that do that, but they don't update their content. Like, cool, it's old. But Let me share with you kind of a recap. Your AOV and by the numbers, agnostic of source, it does not care. A TikTok person is not going to net you a whole bunch more money than a Google person because they're the same person. They find on TikTok, Google your brand. So your AOV multiplied by your returning customer rate, which is the purchase frequency. How many times are they purchasing? What's the frequency of that? Brings you to an LTV. Your LTV, a divisional of that, based on your profit margin and what you can afford to spend to what you know you're going to make at scale, because those don't change annually. They buy the same products, you sell the same products, they come back for the same products. You're just turning the volume up. And then that is going to bring your CAC target. Your CAC target is going to look all sorts of messed up. It's not going to make sense. And when I say it's going to be all sorts of messed up, what I mean by this is I'll go back to that example, because here's where everyone just completely screws everything up. Is the reason why I would say Northbeam is a good idea here is because you're not going to see a CAC target that makes sense here. Watch. All right. So what at Facebook? What are you getting? I'm getting $42 CACs. We need to be at 25. You stink. You're fired. Blech. All right, Google, what'd you do? I got a $30 CAC. You're just as bad. Horrible. You're fired. YouTube, I made 121. Oh, geez, this is horrible. 100. You're 5 times over what the CAC target would be. TikTok, 71. Just as bad. Microsoft. Bing made it. Bing made it with $1,000. Good job, Bing. Let's scale you. That's not going to work. We all know that. But then you look at your top line and say, oh gosh, I have a $24 CAC. Well, how did a 42, a 30, a 121, and a 70 equal a 224? And this is after a third-party attribution tool try to blend them all together. What's up, Caden?
I was going to give the answer: organic and direct.
Yeah, organic, direct, email, return, phone a friend, pick your poison. So what you have to look at is these are now your targets. This is your target. You want to have a $25 CAC? Good. In Google, let's try to maintain somewhere around 30. In Facebook, good. Let's try to maintain somewhere around 42. YouTube is fine at $121. TikTok's good at 71. Why? Because I get 24. We all just went through an exercise. We looked at the buy the number app and said, if we get that CAC target lifetime, it says here's $500,000 in cash in profit, less taxes. But what you know is that you do the same thing here now. Okay, what's my CAC targets by channel? They're overflowing. They're always intermingling and they're always intertwining. However, you're coming out with a blend. That true CAC is that CAC is coming from the back end of their Shopify, by the way. So because these are all blending together, they're overlapping. It's ignorant to say, well, what should Google be? What should Facebook be? $25 each? No. What you don't see is the last 73,000 transactions that has happened in this company here. The good size of them look like this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 6 Facebook clicks, okay? No paid clicks at all, okay? Emails that are going crazy, okay? There's nothing here that is going to make sense. Wait a minute, Google got a click, and then we got a Facebook, a Facebook, a Facebook, a Facebook, a Facebook, 2 more Facebooks, a Facebook, a Facebook, a Facebook, a Facebook. You kind of see the point. And then I made $37. I spent more in ad spend here than what I made. So this right here is you're like, well, what should my something be? You can't identify that because every conversion path is different. Every conversion path. Profit on ad spend, POAS, that doesn't make sense. You can't do that because you can't identify new versus returning. So what I'm saying here is that company, your client, whatever it is, that company is going to have a media mix that works. This audience is found on Facebook. Cool. Spend more on Facebook. But then this audience kind of Google searches. Good. More on Facebook, less on Google. Good. What else? Well, we actually like to be on YouTube, just not as much as Facebook. So we should put some spend over there. Awesome. So we got a Facebook, then a Google, then a YouTube. Okay. What else? Well, they like to go through email. Awesome. How many emails are we getting? What's the cost per email? Then what's the revenue of that? What you're identifying is how are these people moving through your company, not is Google doing good. The moment that you try to fix an issue, a singular channel, is the moment that you just piss yourself off because you up that, but your bottom line stays the same because Facebook kind of did a little worse that week. And then there was an email blast, but then we had a sale. There's all these variances that you're going to have to deal with. But if you're looking at how these people are flowing through your company, you'll be able to structure a good model. This is that model here. This for this company as an example. You have 305 in spend each week. 238 is on Facebook, 54 is on Google. But I get a better CAC. I get a better ROAS. Okay, I also get on cash basis a way better CAC. I also get a way better ROAS. These people are on Facebook way more than they're on Google. Reality of the situation. I can't crank up Google. They can't decrease Facebook. Good. We found what works for the client. Everybody now wins. How you scale? Well, if Facebook's here and Google's here, do this. Don't say, well, Google's doing better, do this. Because then it's a little more customers going to come out, but that's not where they're coming from. Or do you say, well, what if I just push Facebook? Obviously, it can perform better. Yes, but now when people Google search your brand name, they're actually finding a lot of your competitors and they sell about the same product. They're running a sale. You can't measure what you lost. You can't measure, crap, 27 people this month, they went to our competitors. Can't measure it. It's impossible. So keep everything even. When you find your media mix, you keep it even at scale and at reduction. We meet with this client every Monday. How's Facebook doing? Little trouble in paradise. I'll pull back on Google. We'll say profitability. Do you know that if you spend $1 million and $200,000, or if you spend $800,000 and $100,000, you still come up with the same $500,000 net profit? Why? Because I still am making the same ratio, just at a lower volume. But if I just pull back on one or I push on the other one, I'm just eating into my costs. That's 38 minutes of CMO level math. Caden, I know you got to stop talking so much, man.
I know, man, and just talking this whole entire time. No, I think the biggest thing that I think we can take from that too is just essentially establish our baselines of success and what each medium looks like when it's successful, and then kind of branch out from there and lean more into that. So like you said, John, it's like, okay, if you're at like a 0.5 ROAS in Google and you're profitable in terms of like new customer acquisition and you have your baseline figured out on Facebook as well, then just watch those numbers and essentially, use that as a guide based on new traffic to figure out which works and what doesn't work.
Right. And what's funny too is because you're never going to be able to predict where these people are moving. When I say where they're moving, like how they're coming back to the site after they first find you. What the customer path is, okay, I heard about you. Where do I buy? And where did everything happen in between? Sometimes it's Amazon. You might have to crank up YouTube. Amazon sales go up. There's your mix. Great. So don't run standard shopping to your site. People don't buy from you. Keep the mix the same. Run a little brand. Run Amazon branded traffic. So they hear about you on YouTube. They Amazon search your brand name and boom, you're there at the top with 3 sponsored ads. That's a use case that doesn't even involve like Google search or PMax or anything. It's gone. People don't buy that way. I don't force it. No, understand it, because here, for example, this last 7 days, this here isn't organic search. It's I don't know what happened. It's zero data. It's unattributable. We have no freaking idea where these people actually came, heard from. Nothing. I know that if I don't swap my media mix, though, it'll stay about the same. That's why I don't change 9% week over week. Clavio. All right. Email made us another 67,000. It's up because we had a sale. Good. How do I know? Well, we have a lot more revenue and the visits stayed about the same. 7% change, but 46% revenue. Cool. Influencer. Great. What did you guys do in influencer? Did a person go to YouTube and type in product name review and an influencer had a review and they clicked on the link in the description to go and buy, and now your Facebook ad came back as an influencer revenue? Yeah. Attentive. This is text messaging. You can't just have people land in a text box. They had to have come from somewhere, but that's not something you can attribute to Facebook or attribute to Google. You have to attribute to it all because everyone's going to be different. Excluded. These are like subscription models. So yeah, that actually is really excluded. And again, unattributed. This is another form of organic. This is direct unattributed. This is just, we have no idea, but this is where they came to the site. Where they come from, still no idea. Not everything's going to be perfect. You're trying to identify a trend, which is why you don't set individual CAC and ROAS targets but based off your master target. You customize them to end up with a result. So I can't tell you and how many times people it's like, well, I guarantee you, if we didn't spend on Facebook and Google, this would all be zero. Yeah, it would be. That's how a 2.5 and a 1.5 equals a 2.8. Math doesn't math, but it maths. So don't fall in love with trying to make a channel work. The people out there that are running just Google against Facebook, you all lose. Because you're stealing each other's idea and then you're blaming each other. And the client's like, can you guys just work together? Just don't do that. You'll lose. And then your client loses, which means you're fired. Congratulations. You won the battle, lost the war. I had a 6x return, but you got fired. So hopefully that gives a good understanding of how to measure things, how things are coming back. The point is you have to customize it towards you. The reason when I always say it depends in my answer is because this use case, I don't have another use case like this. I have 10 other different styles of use cases that all follow the same rules. Cool. Let's do some Q&A. Soren Tutu. I love your name, dude. So good. Or Dudette. I don't know if you're whatever. Hi, John. I have a remarketing campaign display that is set to max conversion value, removed less than 10 seconds bouncers, and after almost spent a month and 1K spent and no conversions at all, what to do? So this could be unattributed. That's the thing too, is you might have a bunch of kind of free clicks free views and some clicks that you have to identify what happened after you installed that. If you say nothing changed, I developed dynamic marketing, I stuck it in there, it spent $1,000, my top line didn't move, nothing happened, remove that. There's going to be view through conversions. You can't measure that in Google because Google sucks, but you can measure it on MER. Same scenario. So just see if I add this into the mix, my media mix now, and here's the thing, you can spend $1,000 on dynamic remarketing and it can be attributed nothing, kind of like YouTube. I'm hitting $25 CACs with $125 CACs on YouTube. But you can hit $1,000 CAC on display remarketing. But if it actually helps the top line, great. That's your number. Get $1,000 conversions. So if you have no conversions at all and it didn't help the top line, remove it. Oh, good.
Oh, I just got.
Yeah, you can do that. That's perfect. Actually, let's do that. You know what, Caden? When's the best time to start holiday campaigns? I might have started too early. Holidays, April. Yeah, you did.
I think a lot of that too depends on like the campaign they're going to run. Like for example, if you're running like a YouTube campaign, you might want to start that a little bit earlier than if you were to run like a shopping or search campaign, based on whichever medium that you're using. Then also based on your overall time to convert. So like if it takes you 7 days, then I would say leaning a little bit earlier in terms of like the buying window. Yep,
that's a great way. Yeah, time lag is everything. I have one person that has a 32-day time lag, and it's like we make changes like see you next month.
Well, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that in the model you're talking about, though, where it's like, okay, we're waiting on like the purchase frequency to like pick up, so we see profitability in the next 4 months. So you just look at early signals and then kind of gauge the success from that, and then feel it later after like 4 months.
What's crazy is if purchase frequency is 10, but it takes 30 days. Now you're measuring different things. Okay, I got to wait 30 days, and then I'm going to start to rake in the cash. So in the first 30 days, your ROAS target is 0. Keep spending. What are the companies I'm working with hired to see? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I hear a lot of fractional CMOs too that don't understand this. And it's like, man, you kind of just had a really good night's sleep at Holiday Inn and made a business card, huh? I'm not a CMO. I've never spent a day in my life in CMO. I'm not polished and I would fail in a boardroom, but I understand numbers pretty well. So that's why it's called doing CMO level math, not how to become a CMO. Because I don't know. That's a whole different topic. Cool topic, Simon says. Yeah. Simon says cool topic. So now it's a cool topic. Joam says 3 weeks before the holiday date. Yep. Let's skip some of the comments here.
We got one right here. Last call, you said that 3 of your biggest customers couldn't scale without Google and Facebook working together. To learn our customer path to scale, should we get Northbeam to see?
Yeah, this is Maya. We've actually had a consulting call with her too. I would say yes. Northbeam is going to allow you to see the differences in just click and views are directional and it's still AI driven. It's not exact, and I don't scale based off of click and views, but clicks. Yeah. I would like to see what the clicks are. I'd like to see the click overlaps. Northbeam, I can say how many clicks started on Facebook and how many clicks ended on Google. What is that number? It's like, well, out of $1 million in sales, it was 12 grand. Oh, all right. They're not clicking that much, which means cost per click in Google is not spending on the same cost per click in Facebook if you're using cost per click campaigns. So makes sense.
Let's see.
I found one.
Nice.
My PMax brings currently dead customers for years back with YouTube. Yeah, and you know what's so funny is it's like, and then they count 100% of the attributable ROAS as their own. And then since the tag hasn't seen them because you installed it 6 months ago or a year ago, it's a new customer. And then they tack on an additional $50 additional value because now this customer is going to spend a lot of money with you. So what actually happened there? Wow, I made 500% ROAS. It's actually 300% ROAS from Bob's 12th cat condo.
Gotta love Bob.
Right. I love how much everything lies. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Michael, scale that 800 ROAS to the moon. Yeah, exactly. This is funny. Oh, go ahead.
I feel like, I mean, that's something that we can sort of say, like, you can look at ads for, which is just cold versus warm traffic, and just be aware of that because, like, John, you were saying, it's like people just say, oh, let's scale up PMax, and it's like 90% brand. And it's like, well, crap, what do we do now? Let's put a T ROAS on it and see if we can beat it that way. So,
yeah, I'll never forget the pit in my stomach years ago that I scaled up a campaign and it was like I put $200 more money in. I got 200% more money in, 200% more money out. Yes. And then preparing for this call, like doing my happy dance for the client to get there, I check analytics and I lost 1% of revenue. I'm like, oh God. I was like, wait, what happened? And then that was my journey to now where we're at today. I was like, I made 200% more money and lost the client like $100. Like, wait a minute. All right. Can you make notes on those calculations? No, but this video is recorded. That'd be good. You just watched it a few times. You want this to be second nature.
John talks in cursive, so it takes some time to kind of
right.
Yeah, that's our saying here.
I speak in Latin. And nomine Patri Fiat de Spiritu Sancti. All right, got it. I only know that because I went to Latin mass in church. Simon, this live is so valuable today. Was for 2 hours in Lifetimely today. Yeah, there you go. I love Lifetimely. It's great. Will this session be translated to English? C. All right, let's do this. I like this one.
Oh God,
it's 11:30 here, and I'm like, here we go again. All right. As a business point of view, Lifetimely good for client. There we go. All right. As a business point of view, Lifetimely good for client, but for marketer, I least concerned regarding other changes except marketing links. Oh, it's absolutely good for both. Think about this. If you're in Lifetimely and you see everything that you're making and everything that's costing you, you can't make the client money if you don't know that. And the client can't know what you're doing if they don't know it either. I'm so sorry, but someone's knocking at my door, so I'll be right back. So, Caden, if you want to talk about this, it's just me and my daughter home alone, so I need to make sure.
Yeah, no worries. So I think the biggest thing is it's more of like saving yourself. So like in the scenario that John was talking about before, if, for example, you're like, oh, we're at 800% ROAS, and you're looking at it like, well, I don't know if we're profitable, what's the overall spend splits, what's going on? You kind of run into the scenario of, hey, like I know we're profitable and I can back that up by using these numbers. So then the client knows, okay, I can now lean more into this. And so you're not in a scenario to where it's like, hey, I'm losing money, but we're showing 800 ROAS. Let's just keep it into it. And the client's like, I'm broke. then you're kind of in a bad scenario.
Look at all this money I'm making. They're like, look at all the money. Where's it going? Yeah, that was so funny. I got a comment on LinkedIn that says, John, how do you convince a client to focus on MER and CAC and LTV? And like Lifetimely, you cannot deny it. Here's the thing. If either side denies it, they're not the right fit.
Look your bank account.
Yeah. It's either they're your client or you're their vendor. But that is a sole source of truth. Net profit doesn't lie. And then you both understand, I should probably change my CAC target. And then they say, I should probably reduce some of my costs here. Man, great. You move 50%, they move 50%, and it's 100% better. So you are bidding on new customers only in PMax? Not at all. I don't bid for new customers only, and I don't bid higher for new customers. You know what's funny? Inside of even Northbeam, the people that go to your brand and and pay you money as a new customer happens more time than people think. Brand does not mean returning. Break that stigma in your mind. If you run only brand in Google and your return customer rate's like 1.05, 99% of those people are new. Now you're running YouTube and maybe you're running like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and TV commercials. You got 99% of your new customers in, or 99% of your sales in your brand are new. So how much more do we want to pay for a new customer? Might as well just go switch things over to manual CPC and just 2x it. Same thing. So just because they're new doesn't mean they started there. Find out where they start, find out where they end, pay the least amount of money you can to make sure that that is profitable all the way through. And then just crank up the front.
Yeah, Google's getting rid of first click. Pretty much.
You know, what's so funny is I just did 16 hours of filming this week for this mastermind, the e-commerce mastermind. And every single time I was building a new campaign to teach them how to do it the right way, I was like, here, let's do the remarketing campaign. And Google's like, I got optimized targeting set on. I'm like, no, cold traffic in my remarketing campaign? No. And it's like, I had to do a display and search partners. It's like, shit, like, no. And then everything just defaults to expensive. It was just insane. And it's like, hey, do you want to pay more for new customers? Did they start there? I don't know. Well, how do I see that? Yeah, we took that away. Well, shit. So you mean that you're just going to spend more money on brand? Uh-huh. Thanks.
Hey, but we look better, John.
Right, but the ROAS is 800%. Oh, man. Are audience signals needed for shopping campaigns? Yes, sometimes. However, my opinion is start first with search terms. Search terms usually dictate all. Like if it's like, please, for love of God, let me pay someone money near me. Great. What audience is they? I don't care. It's actually Christmas shopping, but that's great. They like that. They like me.
Yeah, and I found too with audiences, like whenever you have an audience target inside of shopping, the CPCs tend to go higher as well too. So.
Yeah, because you're locking yourself into more of a finite. That's why phrase matches or exact match is more expensive than broad match.
Yeah.
All right. It was a 3-part. Our audience signal is needed for shopping campaigns for it to work well. Gifting brand.
Gifting brand.
Gifting brand. What does that mean? I don't
know. Audience signals that are warm. I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh, it says for a. Okay, he answered again. Does Google work well for a gifting brand? In your opinion, we put more. I wouldn't. I would if you were to do Google. Try YouTube first, but only run YouTube. YouTube and brand. That's it. YouTube remarketing, yes, but understand that there's going to be pretty much omni-channel. So YouTube is you want to replicate your successes in Facebook on Google. Don't just be like, hey, I can actually show these people what this product is. And you go over to Google and a lot of people are like, but no one searches for it. Uh-oh. Right. You're doing outbound and inbound. Do outbound. Try that. But please just, and then discovery, actually. You know, YouTube, bit of discovery could work well. Best case is when welcome flows takes the customer. Yeah, it's so true. Happens all the time. Email is not dead. I'm so surprised by that. I would have figured in 2023, email would have been like, you know, something we talked about from 2012, maybe. But yeah, email will never die. It's amazing. Do you only calculate annual? What about 90 days, 180 days? Yes. So rewatch this video and check out CAC payback. That's where you're going to measure. A quick way to look at this, everyone, too, is if you just want a quick snapshot in time, check out the last year and then do this. All right. So these are months. This going here is months. This here is customers. So we can see here that month 1, a lot of people buy. Month 2, a lot more buy. Month 3, a little bit more buy, and then it's dead. Your CAC payback is complete in 3 months, but 90% of that comes in month 1. There you go. It's a CAC payback chart.
Point on that as well, too. Also, if you want to increase your LTV, think about other products that would add on to that and then measure that as well in terms of like the growth period. Maybe it's like, hey, 4 months out, they don't say I actually needed, you know, whatever other product you added into the mix.
It's like Simon's Welcome series. Do an upsell, cross-sell series. See how that affects your return rate. See how that affects your AOV.
And then that allows you to be more competitive, too. So,
yeah, because if you can find your LTV increasing after upsell and cross-sell flows, yeah, then what's great is what happens when your LTV increases. your CAC target can increase, which means you can scale faster. All right. I wrote a full stack 10-hour report today about a company as the Google marketer feeling what you're saying. Oh yeah, the Google. Exactly. Yep. Oh yeah, let's see. I only have 4 minutes left for our call, so we're just going to stop here as soon as I get to the end. It's going to end with John Moran's dog. So we're going to do some rapid fire. All right. I have a PMax campaign, or a PMax running it over. Oh, I have a PMax running it over, spent 5 days, 100% the set budget. Oh, it didn't adjust at all and stopped sometimes middle of the day as there was no budget left with TCPA. All is good. Why? Well, it's a couple things. Simon, did it ever have like 15 days of underspending? So it's like, hey, I had a 200% ROAS. I was trying to spend 1,000. I was only spending 500. And then for the last 4 days, it's way overspent. Yeah, because it's taking the $500 times 10, which is 5,000, and trying to burn through it now. If you want to reset your budget again, change your budget, that should reset things. So if it's like, hey, I'm spending $500 a day and it's actually getting me 1,000, turn that down to 480. It'll come right down because you reset the budget. All right. How do we deal with Facebook and Google's conversion hungry behavior, both going after your existing websites, cold traffic only campaigns? So that's what I like, is the least amount of attributed revenue is coming in from our standard shopping campaigns, for example. They look like shit. Now, my PMax campaign is actually scooping that traffic up and making it look really, really good. So that model there can work. It's not 100% of the way complete. We haven't figured out the secret sauce yet, but we're working on it. But that's one of the ways you can do it. Non-brand search, non-brand DSA, small amount of purposeful remarketing, maybe not even running PMax at all. The more so that you can look inside of a Google account and say, these people have no idea who I am based on anything I can identify here, then check MER, because that's scalable. Best holiday season is Black Friday, December Monday. Yes, it is. I love Black Friday, December Monday.
I love hate it.
I know. As soon as like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, like midnight on that Cyber Monday, like 11:59 that Monday, I'm like, like for the next week, all of my clients are just not going to call because they're like just counting all the cash. And then about January 1, they're freaking out. All right, how to calculate purchase frequency and what's the difference between purchase frequency and return customer rate? Return customer rate is out of all of my customers, how many return. The purchase frequency is how many times do they buy on average. So you can have a 100% return customer rate, but a 2 frequency, which means everybody has come back and bought something else. And that's the last time I saw them. That's it. And to close us off here with Simon, wish you all a good weekend. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everyone. And we'll see you